Welcome to the I Hate Critics movie review podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. Jeff is here. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Queens.
Visit us, of course, on Facebook, facebook.com, and I Hate Critics. And, of course, Jeff is on numerous social medias.
Yeah, I'm being a bitch on Facebook to people right now, but, nothing else is new.
Why wouldn't you on Facebook? What else better is there to do?
Oh, well, especially around this area.
Yeah. You can find my stuff, of course, on medium.com/RealScope. It is Darren Aronofsky week, or the movies of Darren Aronofsky week. And talking about, of course, Caught Stealing on Friday, but I posted a review of The Fountain this morning. I've got a review of Mother coming up. I did a review of The Wrestler as well as coming up. So check those out there. I've got all of those going up this week, medium.com/RealScope. And our classic this week coming up later on in the show, I did a opening shots on the movie Blowout, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. I just love Blowout, and of course I'll be raining down praise upon that later on in the show. But of course, this week it seems like I'm going to be raining praise down on a number of different movies. I would say the majority of movies, weirdly enough, but it's weird. It's weird that way, but because I actually did get to all of the new movies, and it was a relatively busy weekend. But of course, nobody knew that because movie companies aren't telling anyone that they're putting out movies right now. Nobody's paying for marketing campaigns, and if they are, they're not marketing them very well because you and I are both relatively quite online people. Like we're on numerous social media sites. We're in the movie sphere. And neither one of us even hardly knew that these movies were coming. Like Trust specifically, I thought Trust is like nobody knew that this movie ever happened. And just there it is in the theater, like sitting in the marquee. And you go, what the fuck is Trust? And like Relay, nobody saw Relay this weekend. I don't know what the hell the deal was with Relay.
You know what? You can talk about that. I decided I'm not going to see it for next week because there's so many other fucking movies to see.
I will pass along Relay then. And then of course Eden, which we're going to talk about as well. A Ron Howard movie with Sydney Sweeney, with Jude Law, with Vanessa Kirby, with Ana de Armas. We're talking three of the most well-known and followed actors on the planet in terms of those three women. Like, they've been in big movies all year long. They've been in the headlines this year. You would think that a movie like that would have everyone's attention, and they spent nothing to tell people they were putting this out. And this movie has a $50 million budget.
Yeah, I don't understand that because I know this story. I went into this blind because I didn't hear anything about it. I went into it blind and I was like, oh, I know this story from True Crime Obsessed and My Favorite Murder. They talked about that story, both podcasted extensively. So
it's a great story. It's one that should be turned into a movie, and I'm glad it was. But Ron Howard, when he put out a movie, it used to be a very big deal. Like I can recall even like as recently as Rush or the other movie you made with Chris Hemsworth, The Heart of the Sea. Both of those got big pushes, and yes, they didn't do very well, but that doesn't mean you make another movie with him for $50 million and don't tell people it's coming out.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. Now I'm told, I actually read a Deadline article that says that even though Eden only made just over $1 million over this weekend, that the film actually has a very strong chance of being profitable simply by the deals that they've already made via overseas distribution and streaming. That those deals may in fact add up to the $50 million they spent to make the movie, on top of the acquisition money spent by Vertical to get the movie. And apparently this is a thing, a lot of what we're talking about here has been kind of pioneered by Vertical, where they're so much more interested in selling ancillary rights, international rights, international box office, that anything that they get in America basically ends up being like a sweetener.
Yeah.
Which is wild to me. It's like, classic Hollywood accounting. It sounds like, I think, to me, that sounds like Ron Howard, Ana de Armas, and the cast are just going to get fucked over. Just, like, if they've got any participation points, once this thing sold to Vertical, they pretty much got fucked out of it. Because there's not going to be that much room in terms of the profits, but they'll have just enough profits to make it work for Vertical.
Yeah, I mean, the way that they're screwing over these movies lately, it's like Apple TV is in charge of marketing for Hollywood.
Right? Apple TV famously just buying movies and then dropping them on their streaming service and never telling anybody.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's so bizarre. What is going on? Like, I realize that like one of the first things that happened when these companies became, bought up by like hedge fund guys was that they started firing their marketing teams because they figured that's where they could save money. But it still doesn't make a lot of sense as a business plan. But then hedge fund guys are always like this. When hedge funds get involved in anything, they go for the dumbest possible math that's going to get them the fastest, what they think might be a profit. They're also betting a lot of the times on profit that they assume will be there, and then trying to make up for it later when that profit doesn't arrive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering now, as we're talking about this, if we're like if like the movies have become this sort of Enron situation where they're selling everything up front. And then, and once everything is sold up front, they're just done. That's it. We've sold all the upfront. We've sold it into streaming already. We've sold it into the international markets. If it makes money in America, it doesn't matter because, we've already projected that this will be the profit. And that's the project. We then take the projected amount that we're going to make. And that's what we're putting on. We're telling Wall Street, well, we're planning to make this amount of money. And then it doesn't happen, but we've already projected the next thing that's going to make us money. And so we'll make up what we missed on that one. Because for over a decade, Enron sold futures in oil. Those decades, they were selling futures. I think they probably still are, for all we know. And oftentimes, they could bet that the oil money would be there, that the profits from selling oil would be there. And of course, obviously, that would depend upon the supply. And when that supply came up short, their projections would be wrong, and they'd have to tell Wall Street, well, we were short, but hey, next year, we've already projected we're going to make this much money.
Yeah, I
think that's the only accounting that makes any sense.
You're probably right. Look, all these like venture capital guys and all this stuff, they've completely ruined. You've heard of the enshittification of something, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they have enshittified so much from businesses. Like they killed KB Toys, they killed Toys R Us, they're killing movies. It's like, when can we just say enough is enough?
Yeah, I mean, the business model that they're operating on is not sustainable. It's great for like maybe a short-term thing that'll gain you, a couple $1 million right away, like real fast. You'll make money real quickly. But then in the long term, you sacrificed all of your quality to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, let's be realistic. Sacrificing quality is what Hollywood is best known for, overall. But this is just like literally taking stuff that is thoughtful and interesting and deserves to be seen, and just nobody gets to see it because they don't want to pay for marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's especially true of the movie Eden, which we'll get to, but I think we're going to start with Trust today. Trust stars Sophie Turner as a beloved television actress. She's on a TV show called The Johnsons, where she's been for a long time, long enough that she's grown up on screen. And all of America knows her. She's America's sweetheart. And the film opens with her getting hacked. All of her private stuff is put out on the internet, and she's just looking to escape. So she's got herself an Airbnb somewhere on PCH. She's just going to go there and get offline and just stay out of everything. But of course, we wouldn't have a movie if that worked out for her. So uh, once she arrives at the Airbnb, we find out that the Airbnb is filled just everywhere with hidden cameras by the kid who's supposed to be the caretaker of the place. And he finds out that he's got a worldwide movie star there at his house, at that house. And eventually his uncle and his cousin find out about that. And they're all three criminals. So they end up going there to try and rob her. This ends up with her being locked inside of a sort of a, it's a boiler room, but it's also kind of a safe room because if you shoot the door, you can't shoot through the door essentially. So it's kind of a safe room, but when the door handle falls off, she's basically trapped in there and she'll be there for a couple of days. Meanwhile, there's this entire other plot unfolding where the man who has gotten her pregnant, that's one of the photos that was leaked, is a pregnancy test, and she's not been publicly dating anyone, so there's a lot of speculation as to who this is. The man who she was, who impregnated her, has sent someone to kill her, to find her at this Airbnb and make it look like she killed herself, to cover up the fact that he's the father of her baby. I'm not saying I'm not going into more detail on that because some people might still want to see this, so I'm not going to spoil it. Because I don't hate this movie, Jeff. I think Sophie Turner is really, really good in this. I just wish that they had picked one of these thriller plots as opposed to two. Why did they have to have two separate thriller plots? Did they not have enough confidence in one of them to work?
I don't know. I think they got her to do this and she's really good in it. She was, but see, I think she's a good enough actor that you get to see her elevate this the way she elevated whatever she could in Dark Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And I think this is probably two scripts that weren't very good.
Sewn together.
Yeah. Well, so they used to do this and they still do, somebody will write a spec script or something. And then they'll say, hey, we need a new Hellraiser movie. What if we took this script and shoehorned Pinhead into it? Yeah. And I mean, literally that's how everything after Hellraiser 3 was made.
Oh yeah, the Henry Cavill one. You can see that specifically.
Oh, completely. But I feel like they had one script that had one thing in it that was a comedy, and then they had another script that it was kind of like a Coen Brothers comedy, and then the other one was a thriller. And they're like, you know what? What if we just put these both into Chat GPT and said, let's make a movie out of this, and they spit the script out because it swings wildly between dark comedy and kind of a horror thriller from scene to scene. And I think that was my only explanation for it was, oh, okay, this is written by AI.
So I guess we do want to go into spoilers because there are things to talk about in that plot that I think are very interesting that should have been a better movie. And that is that, so spoiler alert, if you want to see this movie, just skip to the next movie. But basically, Billy Campbell plays her TV dad, and the implication is that he's been grooming her since she was a child on that TV show. And to the point where they are essentially a couple. And now that she's pregnant with his child, he's decided to send Peter Mensah to kill her. And his plot unfolds to find Katey Sagal, who ends up finding Sophie Turner's dog on the side of the road. The dog had escaped from the house while she was locked inside the closet, and she finds the dog, and then she puts the dog online, and that leads to people like, oh, where's this one? Where is she at? How'd you find this dog? So Peter Mensah, the killer, goes to her, Katey Sagal, to see if she knows where Sophie Turner is. And this could all be a very interesting plot. If because there's a whole lot of Me Too and cancel culture stuff, and Billy Campbell especially is leaning heavily into sort of this America's Dad sort of Bill Cosby thing that I thought was could have been very interesting. But we keep having to leave that plot to include these bumbling meth head characters who basically are there to pad the body count. And it's like, those characters just are not needed. They don't need to be here.
Yeah, I feel like Katey Sagal and the one cop with the mustache are two comic relief characters that do not need to be in a movie like this because it's not a movie that needs comic relief. It needs to be a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so off-putting to me. That's what I kept like crossing my arms to myself. Like I was in the theater alone, so I said it out loud. God, this is so dumb. Like it's so, because it's, somebody goes, "Oh, how was your, at the theater today? What have you seen?" I said, "Oh, how are the movies?" They said it was a week of smart people doing dumb things, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then being rewarded for it. I, I just, I didn't like the officer who was like, "Yeah, I'm a bumpkin," but he's clearly Spanish, but he's like playing a country bumpkin from Missouri. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? And then Katey Sagal, who is clearly in a different movie, even in like the most harrowing part, she's screaming like she's in a comedy. And that's why I just feel like it was a comedy and a thriller that were just slapdash together.
Which is wild because this is a film that was made by someone, it was directed by Carlson Young, who also wrote this screenplay. And it kind of just makes you go, what? Like, I can understand, like, you make complete sense, except that one person apparently wrote this. And this doesn't feel like a movie that one person wrote. It feels like it was written by a committee that was trying to sew two different movies together.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild to me. Just thinking about that, because how does one person make a movie this wildly divided? And but it's such a shame because so Sophie Turner's killing it. Those scenes where she's locked in that room, I was very compelled. I wanted to know what she was going to do next. When she starts peeling away the walls, when she's just using just basic logic to try and figure out, okay, well, if a rat got in the room, then clearly there must be something like a way to get into the wall or something. Like she's just logically putting this all together, and failing because she's not somebody who's like, she doesn't have a lot of survival skills. She's a movie star.
Yeah.
But I loved her performance. Her instincts were really good. Her backstory is very compelling and sympathetic. And the thing with her and Billy Campbell could have been really interesting to play that out. Especially if I kept, and I know I shouldn't do this, but I kept in my head just rewriting the movie. So I kept the one character from the meth head story, the kid who was operating, the kid who was the camera guy, had all the cameras there. And I thought, wouldn't it have been interesting if, like, Peter Mensa and Billy Campbell show up, they find her eventually, like, maybe even use the Katey Sagal character to lead them there. And so you have two hostages and whatnot. And she still ends up in that room, and she's still got to fight her way out. But this kid is watching all of this on this camera and trying to decide whether or not he should, get involved and try and be a hero. And I thought that could have been an interesting way to play this, is you have that character. As much as he's a bumbling meth head idiot, he tries to be the hero and ends up kind of bumbling into this bizarre situation that no one could imagine, where, two of the biggest stars on television, one of whom is trying to kill the other, are locked in this, life and death struggle.
Yeah. And another thing too is the cameras, you think that they're going to come back, like that would be Billy Campbell's end if the stuff on the, if all this was on camera, and nobody really, it kind of dropped after the one kid gets killed.
Yeah.
Also, I think that if Katey Sagal hadn't been playing it like she was Lucy Ricardo, she could have been the one, she would have been the one who comes in and saves Sophie Turner. I just, and what's the point of having the character Darren survive, go to jail, come all the way back, and then get killed? like
Yeah, that was a completely like a pointless thing to just add to that. Like all this stuff he goes through where he's having this, moral question about whether or not he should try and save this woman, and then he accidentally ends up getting shot and running himself to the hospital, and then finding a way to get out of the hospital by assaulting a doctor, and then uh, making his way all the way back to the house. Doesn't even get inside before he's killed by Peter Mensa, who he has no idea, he has no relationship to. He doesn't know who this guy is.
yeah.
Like, it was just, there's no point to that subplot. It just, all it is like padding the runtime and pulling focus away from the far more interesting story.
And this is thankfully a short movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and it still seemed like they padded 2 hour long episodes of TV show. Maybe that's what they did. They put those together. But yeah, I thought Sophie Turner was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought Johnny Paolo, who played Marcus, the first one to die, I thought he was good. He kind of had you could tell he was working on that moral quandary in his head, and then he's just shot right away. And it's like, it would have been so much more interesting if the dog had gotten out and then Katey Sagal tracked her to the house, and then she took out, the three, something like that. I was left wanting. I was actually left sitting there in the theater going, what the fuck is going on? And this is so stupid over and over. So yeah, I don't recommend it, but
I can't fully recommend it. Certainly, I think the bad outweighs the good, but the good is very, very good in terms of Sophie Turner. Yeah. I really liked her. I liked the ending too. I was happy about the ending. And Billy Campbell is such a great scumbag. He's so good at that. I've seen him do that in other movies too, where he's just this humble, humble symbol of like white male privilege who gets brought down to the lowest of lows. I think he's great at that. It was great to see in this movie, and I wish I could have seen more of that.
And that was another thing, like the comedy bit that he did where he takes his wig off and then he looks up and then the officer is, I'm like, come on, this is a Coen Brothers movie, and it's not a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, I was totally baffled by, there's a scene with a veterinarian who's just like a whiny little bitch. And he's like playing afraid of Peter Mensa's character, which, he should be afraid of that guy. The guy's very big and intimidating, but like this character doesn't fit everything else that's happening in the rest of the like he's playing pure comedy. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. This whole plot with you and Katey Sagal doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Is this a thriller, or is this, what is this?
Yeah.
I had this situation actually in another movie I just reviewed, which is up as well on our Facebook page, called Borderline, which came out back in March, but I just got it last week. It's got Ray Nicholson and Samara Weaving, and it tells the story of a crazed stalker who goes after a celebrity at her house. It's 1998. She's a major pop star, and Eric Dane plays her head of security, and he's Eric Dane, so it's like he's handsome, good-looking, big guy, looks very competent, and everything he does is wrong. Like he ends up getting himself stabbed. He ends up getting himself shot. He does nothing to protect her from this guy. And it's not played for comedy. But then other aspects of the movie, like everything Ray Nicholson is doing, is entirely played for comedy. And it's like, what is going on? Are you a comedy or are you a thriller? Which one are you? Pick a tone and stick with it.
I don't mind, dark comedies, but or horror comedy, whatever, but as long as it's done well and it doesn't seem like it's two different movies, I'm all for it. This one, it seemed like it was two different movies.
Well, speaking of tone, let's talk about Honey Don't, which also came out this weekend, which I thought would be the biggest movie of the weekend, but obviously there was no big movie this weekend unless you love Netflix. Honey Don't stars Margaret Qualley as Honey O'Donoghue and Aubrey Plaza, Chris Evans as well. Honey O'Donoghue's a private detective in Bakersfield, California. She is she's gay and she's very, very proud of that. And the movie is very, very proud of that as well. um, doesn't hold anything back. Which there's a central mystery. She was to investigate this case involving this woman named Mia Novotny. Mia ends up dead before she can meet with Honey, and Honey's intrigued. She wants to know what this woman was coming to her about. It leads her around to this church in town that is run by Chris Evans that happens to be a front for French drug dealers, which none of this matters, by the way.
Yeah.
The thing is that this isn't necessarily a mystery. It's more of a kind of a cool aesthetic vibes movie. It's kind of a modern noir, but the point of it is just kind of putting these characters in play, especially Honey, and then creating this very cool aesthetic. And this is a great looking movie. The cinematography is gorgeous. The performances are all just wildly charismatic. And of course, it's directed by Ethan Coen and co-written by him and his wife, Trisha Cook, who did Drive Away Dolls. And you can sense some of the similar vibes from that film in this film. It's a very sex positive movie. There's a bit of a mystery going on, but the mystery doesn't matter. What matters is how cool Honey is, how cool everything she does is. And if you're on the vibe, if you're on the wavelength, you're really going to enjoy this. I really, really enjoyed this.
I could tell. We were actually in the same theater. You didn't know it. I know it because I could hear you laughing. I thought it was you, but I can't see in the dark. And I was just like, okay, the guy in front of me next to you was on his phone. And I'm like, if he's on his phone the whole time, I'm going to be really mad because you know me. And then I kept hearing you guffawing the whole time. I was like, oh, Sean really likes this.
I was having a great time.
Yeah, it was. I laughed a lot. There were a couple little issues with it, but I thought it was, like you said, it was a vibe instead of a movie. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes I like that where it's just, I don't need heavy plot. I just sometimes want to see lesbians walking around being all like sexy and shit. And this is okay. Like we've said this before, but this is kind of the solidification of Margaret Qualley's star status.
Right.
Her mom is Andie MacDowell, who is a well-known movie star who's, been in the business for 40 some years. And I think Margaret Qualley is a better actor than she is. I think, it's like they talk about nepotism and stuff. And I think nepotism may have gotten her in the door, but she is like between this and The Substance and Drive Away Dolls and Kinds of Kindness. I think she's like right up there with Julia Garner for me as far as favorite newer actors.
I find her to be just magnetic. Her face, her eyes especially, she's just so intelligent. The way she reads a room in this movie is phenomenal. The little interactions with Charlie Day made me laugh every time.
Yeah.
I did not
girls.
I did not see the way her character, her and Aubrey Plaza's relationship played out. I didn't see that coming at all. I especially loved that they just didn't. The movie does not care what Chris Evans is doing. They let him do it. He's very charming. He's very funny while he does it, and then boom, that's over. That's done with. And the very end of the movie is basically the title of the film. Which I love the fact that the title of the movie is Honey Don't, and she's doing something at the very end of this movie that you say to yourself, oh, honey, don't.
Yep.
And I can almost find, I can almost believe you if you told me that Ethan Coen and Trisha Cook were like, that's what we're just building this to that. Just to have people say that. That's the whole thing. I'm okay with that. Because that to me is that's if you're entertaining yourself that to that level, I'm impressed.
Yeah. I have a couple small quibbles. Everybody, it's like this cast is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody is so good. I mean, even just like um I saw Cale Brown in the thing. I'm like, Cale Brown from Another World. He's on one of my favorite soap operas, and he was in it, but he's just so creepy in it. Um, Josh Pavchek, who played Shuggy, the one who went and fought Hector. I
Yeah.
thought he was so good because he was so dumb, and he was just like, "What? Oh yeah, yeah." And then he wasn't dumb. He was just kind of a little dim,
Right.
when he figured it out. Um, a couple of things that got me just tiny quibbles. Um, there was no real resolution to the her dad coming back,
Yeah.
and they kind of dropped her sister, which I thought that it could have had a little resolution to the three of them,
Mm-hmm.
whether it
Yep.
was, we don't want you in our lives, we want you in our lives. Let's try again, something like that. I just felt there was some, like, because it was like characters were introduced and then they were kind of dropped. Um, Now I will say that when Quentin Tarantino does that, they're always there for a very specific reason.
Right.
And some of these felt like they were there, but not necessarily for a very specific reason, except to just kind of give her a little bit of a background, but the stuff that was introduced with them wasn't necessarily um, resolved. That was one of my little quibbles. The fact that, spoiler alert, you can skip ahead for about a minute and a half. She goes to Aubrey Plaza's house, and Aubrey Plaza is the killer. She's a serial killer apparently, and she's got the niece in the basement, but we never see her rescue the niece. So it, I didn't. I was like, did we actually ever see that the niece was okay? And then it hit me later. Like I thought that for a little while, then it hit me about an hour later that, oh yeah, she was in the ambulance at the end.
Mm-hmm.
They could have resolved the dad thing with him being in the ambulance too. Just, oh, okay, they're all gonna be together or something. That was, we didn't get the resolution with Charlie Day's character. He kept going back again, but I those are my only quibbles. I really, really liked the movie. I laughed a lot. I recommended it to people all weekend. Uh, I saw ad after ad after ad after ad on social media for it. So at least something was getting marketed.
Yeah. A little bit. Enough, I guess.
Yeah.
None of I think it made the top 10. Most of the movies that came out this weekend did not make the top 10, which is wild.
No.
like Relay with Riz Ahmed and Lily
Ugh.
Collins, which is basically just Relay is a movie where Riz Ahmed plays a guy who tries to help people who blow the whistle on corporations. Lily Collins is a woman who is a scientist who's trying to blow the whistle on her company, who's going to poison the world food supply unless she, says something. But of course, his job isn't actually to get this information out. His job is to help this person give the information back to the corporation so they can finish being evil and not hurt the person that he's helping. I guess that's how he does it, which kind of makes him, I guess he's sort of more of an anti-hero. He's just sort of there to help the corporations and this person, I guess. It's weird. Anyway, doesn't matter. None of it matters because the whole movie is just him making a phone call through this relay service. A relay service is one where if you're deaf or if you're mute, if you have trouble communicating, you call them and they'll, you type out your message and they'll read it to the person you're calling. And that's how he covers up his conversations with people to keep them from being listened into by bad guys. And we see that just repeatedly, like they just over and over again. He makes a call or somebody calls him. They go through the relay service. Some rando is interacting between him and Lily Collins, and that's the movie. And then he'll stare through her window of her apartment a couple times longingly, and then the movie's over. I was shocked to see that this movie got 75% positive on Rotten Tomatoes. Because I don't know what other people were watching. This is directed by David Mackenzie, who directed Hell or High Water, which was one of the best movies of the last decade. But I don't know what he was going for here. I don't think he accomplished anything with this. I actually compared this movie to overchewed bubblegum. Like it starts off with a little flavor, and it's just become this wet, chewy mass that you're just trying to, finish out of obligation. Yeah, it's a it's a bad movie. It's one of the more boring, dim-witted sort of things I've sat through this year, and I don't understand what anybody else saw in this.
Top 10 worst.
It's up there. It's up there. There's a couple of like really terrible movies that I saw this
like
year.
The Weekend movie.
Yeah. Although at the very least, that movie is trying something. That movie has at least it has at least a boldness to it in just how committed to being terrible it truly is. It's like it reminds me of when I saw Lady in the Water back in the day. Like I said, it's a terrible film, but M. Night Shyamalan hung his balls out there. Like he tried something wholly original. He failed miserably. But he did something wholly original. And I kind of feel that way about that movie. Like I can't completely hate it because at least it tried to be it strived to be as bad as it is.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw that all the way through. I think I put it on a couple times and it failed the sleep test. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Say maybe I'll have to, and you're supposed to say no, don't. No,
don't. There's no point. Don't waste your time. It's bad enough to say I don't recommend it, but bad in the most interesting way possible.
Good to know.
Yeah. What else is there this weekend?
There was Eden this week.
Eden, yes. Ron Howard's new movie, which stars Sydney Sweeney and Daniel Bruhl as a couple from Germany who travel to the Galapagos Islands of specifically the island of Floriana. There's this legend going around the world of this doctor, played by Jude Law, and his lover, played by Vanessa Kirby, who've gone there and gone completely off the grid and are just living off the land in Floriana, away from all the growing fascism in Germany and the chaos that's happening around the world in late 1929 or early 1930s. And so they decide to go there, and they've got a son who has tuberculosis. So they figure, island air, getting away from, civilization, this will be really good for him. And they also have these stories that have been printed in the newspaper based on Jude Law's letters back to Germany that say that, that this is a big adventure and that the doctor is this guy who is an adventurer who is, charting the way for others to do the same thing. The reality is quite different. He doesn't want anybody around. He left for a reason, and they just would prefer no one show up. But nevertheless, they go there. He tries to put them off, but they've proved to be much more hardy and prepared for this than anyone would have expected, and they actually do begin to thrive. But then, of course, this is called Eden, so there's a snake coming to the garden, and it's Ana de Armas. She arrives with a couple of guys who she's I think fucking everybody pretty much in that she's like arrives in a throuple. She calls herself the Baroness, and she's this big, broad personality who claims that she's going to start this luxury place on the beach. And she's going to build it all there for only millionaires to come and stay. Completely ignorant and naive of the conditions on Floriana, which, as much as they're being romanticized worldwide via Jude Law's letters, this is not an easy place to survive and thrive. There's a reason why this island was abandoned before Jude Law came. It's because it's not an easy place to survive, specifically during the summer when there's very little water, very little clean water, and of course people keep forgetting apparently that you can't drink seawater. That seems to be something that people have a hard time remembering. It's an island. It'll be fine. All of this is played out in this great cinematography and perfect editing. Ron Howard's really on point here. I don't find Ron Howard to be one of the all-time great directors. I don't think he has a personal style, and if he does, it's a bit bland. Until he like finds something that he's more interested in, and he gets a little bit of an edge. And like there was a movie he did with Kate Blanchett and Tommy Lee Jones, The Missing, which is a very much of a John Ford style Western. And he seemed to really like doing that, and he did it pretty well. And it had some grit to it. And this is a much grittier story than he's used to telling. It's definitely, it has some of his mainstream blockbuster stuff, but I think in the editing and in the cinematography, the various story choices that are a little bit edgier and grittier, I think that's something different for him. And that's kind of what also leads me to say that he's not really much of an auteur, but he is a craftsman, and he can put a movie together. Like, say what you will about Apollo 13, is as slick and safe and mainstream as that is, it's a well put together movie. I would say the same thing for Frost Nixon, which is actually a really great movie and exceptionally well put together. And really, a lot of his movies are exceptionally well put together. Just a lot of them are very safe and very mainstream. And milquetoast would be a great way to describe them, kind of like Opie Taylor, if you will. This is not an Opie Taylor movie. This is not that. He's got some grit. He's got some edge to it. There's a scene where Sydney Sweeney's character has found out she's pregnant. She's going to give birth on the island. And that scene is just filled with tension and suspense and excitement. She's giving birth to a baby alone, surrounded by dogs. And there's a whole other plot happening that she doesn't even know about yet that's happening around her. And that scene is tremendous. That was like where I went, okay, I'm in now. I like this. I'm enjoying this. I want more of this. And that's really where I came to feel like I really liked this movie. But it wasn't until it was over and I sat down to write about it, I go, this was really fun. This was really good. And I wrote a very, very, very positive review.
Yeah. I had no idea about this movie. I went in blind. I was completely expecting a modern day telling of something. And then as I was reading the title cards, I was like, wait a minute. I know this story from True Crime Obsessed and from My Favorite Murder.
Which I've heard this story as well.
Yeah. And I was just like, we actually get to see this story play out. I was really super excited for it. And then everybody came in, and it was exactly how I wanted it to be. Everybody in this movie is so good. Even Sydney Sweeney doing an accent that kind of works most of the time.
Yeah. She's unrecognizable. Not even, I could not tell that was her at first. It totally surprised me actually when I realized it.
So she's going to be the lead in The Housemaid, which is a super popular book. And Amanda Seyfried is playing the older woman who she doesn't look 40. But when she had her hair up and back, in that like brown mousy look, I kept thinking of Amanda Seyfried, who has turned into a really, really good actor over the years. And that's who I kept thinking of. So maybe that's, I was giving her a little bit of that too. So yeah, I thought she was actually really good.
And so was Ana de Armas. Ana de Armas is just a lightning bolt to this movie. When she arrives on the island, she just takes over the whole thing. She takes over the whole movie, and she's obnoxious. She's like mean, and like you really just she's very easy to hate. She's leaning into that, and then you'll see these moments where she's got to try and use her feminine wiles to try and pull something off, and it's actually kind of funny how bad she is at it. Like you can say, it adds this level of dark humor to it where she's not good at this, but she's so attractive that it kind of works if you're really, really dumb.
Yeah.
I do wish like the other two guys who are with her, the two her two boy toys, I wish they'd been a little bit better. I wish they'd been a little bit more of characters, but that's a minor quibble because everything else is so good. The shifting alliances, the suspense, the who's going to turn on who's going to kill who, everything Jude Law does, he is just magnetic. And him and Vanessa Kirby are amazing. There's a point where they see the Daniel Bruhl and Sydney Sweeney's characters struggling, and it turns them on so much they want to fuck. Like, it's like very severe in German about that I find very darkly funny.
Yeah, well, one of them is Toby Wallace from the Bike Raiders, who I've had a crush on since that movie. He played the kid, the one who killed what's his face, better looking Donald Logue, who was just in Together. Yeah, he was like a non-entity.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
Yeah. But I really, really enjoyed this. It didn't seem like a 2-hour movie.
No, it did. It go. I mean, I thought it ended twice, but still, I didn't mind it because where they were headed was so good. Sydney Sweeney has a moment at the end that it's not nearly as good as say the ending of Maxine, where they're just focusing on her for 10 solid minutes. But like, there's an element there where she's just holding the screen magnetically, just in a shot on her where she's talking to people and showing herself to be stronger than they think she is. That brought that to mind, and I thought that's a really good scene, and I'm glad that was here.
Yeah.
Even though it was, again, part of the second inning.
Right. Oh yeah, this is my biggest recommend for the week. I don't see how this is gonna, tear down the internet or anything, but
right.
They could have marketed this, and that just makes me mad that they didn't.
This totally could have been a John Huston movie. Like, that's how good this is. Like, this could have been something like that, where it's got that vibe. And it's a real shame that they just didn't bother to tell anybody that they made it. Like, it's got to be. Ron Howard has to be frustrated. I would think he would have to be frustrated by just how little they did to try and tell anybody that this is out there.
Yeah, it's so much better than, I loved Honey Don't, but this is the best movie of the week for me. And nobody knows about it.
Yeah, that's bizarre. That is absolutely bizarre. And it's the frustrating trend of the weekend that Hollywood will not market their movies anymore, it would seem. I'm still kind of divided on this one in Honey Don't, because I loved Honey Don't so much.
Yeah.
I honestly think they could be near the top 10 movies of the year for me, both of those movies. That's how much I really loved those.
Yeah, I think that's not out of the realm of possibilities for me, depending on what other horror movies come out this year.
The interesting thing about Eden is I'm starting to wonder if I'm just becoming like its champion, because I'm so mad that it's being mistreated. Like, do I love it? Do I truly love it that much that I or is it just the my love for underdogs? I don't know. Yeah. I think I do actually love it that much, but
well, it's not an expected summer blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps it.
Yeah. It should have been. It should have been, though. Like, $50 million in this cast, that should have been a blockbuster.
Well, and it's not a superhero movie. It's not a bombastic thing. And I think it really, it's got some of the best performances I've seen in a long time. So hopefully that'll at least get some recognition.
Weirdly, this movie debuted at the Toronto Film Festival last year, and apparently didn't receive great reviews, and that's how it ended up with the distributor Vertical Entertainment. Was that it didn't receive great reviews, and people said, "Well, this isn't going to compete for the Academy Awards, so nobody cares." which is wild to me. What movie were they watching? It's a
And
great
you get to
movie.
see Jude Law standing around with his penis flopping all over the place. What's not to love?
One of the first things he does just to kind of intimidate is just to walk into a scene completely nude. And that was like, yeah, that's that's this character. He's just constantly finding new ways to make that character fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. Go see this movie. It's really, really good.
It really, really is.
All right, I think it's time to talk about the classic, right?
Well, yeah, let's dive into it.
Our classic this week is Blowout, starring John Travolta and directed by Brian De Palma. It tells the story of a sound man who is capturing sound in real life and happens to catch the sound of an assassination. A presidential candidate who everyone expects to become the next president of the United States is killed in an accident, or seemingly what they think might be an accident, but it's actually an assassination. And he's able to prove that with his audio recording. He gets caught up with saving the life of a woman who was in the car with this presidential candidate. The woman is played by, Ellen.
Nancy Allen.
Nancy Allen, thank you. And Nancy Allen, who gives this incredible performance as this completely like sunny, cheery, happy woman who is sadly, in the world of sex work and but has, big dreams. And I loved her character. She's kind of childlike and naive. She doesn't have any idea just how big the situation she's in is, and that makes her death so tragic. The way that he foreshadows that by opening the movie inside a bad horror movie. You've got the heavy breathing killer. You've got this overbearing killer's heartbeat going on. You've got this just the trappings of Z-grade horror going on, and all of that is foreshadowing everything that's going to come, because all of that sound that you're hearing in the opening is an absence at the end when she dies. And I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking brilliant. What a great way to bring this movie completely full circle. And that little tribute at the end, he takes her scream and uses it in the movie, so she's going to live forever in a weird sort of way. It makes me love this movie so fucking much.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite De Palma movies. I think Dress to Kill is way, way up there for me though. But this has a lot of the same, people starring in it. And the chemistry between John Travolta and Nancy Allen was good in Carrie, but it's great here. They seem so natural and like they've known each other like they know each other in real life, which they did. But just as the mystery kind of unfolds, and then they introduce John Lithgow into it, and you're like, wait a minute. Oh, okay. And then he just basically says what he's going to do, and then he does it, which is never the way it goes in a movie or a TV show.
Right.
If you sit I always said this, if you watch Scooby-Doo and they explain how they're going to do the trap, it doesn't work. If they say, hey kids, come here, let me tell you, and then they fade out, then it's going to work. And that's kind of the expectation here is, they have this plan and it doesn't work, even though they've said it out loud and say what it's going to be. So, or they don't say what it's going to be necessarily. So
it's so incredibly smart. You've got this almost naive romance happening between John Travolta and Nancy Allen. They're so wonderful together that it almost seems like they believe that they could, go on and have a life after this. They don't understand just how big this thing is. They have no idea that Lithgow is lingering, and Lithgow is basically playing he's basically like the world's greatest serial killer. He's super competent.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they say he botched he wasn't supposed to kill the presidential candidate. He was just supposed to get him caught with the girl, and he killed him anyway. But I think I think he was probably going to kill the guy anyway, just because he likes killing people and he's good at it. He has no conscience whatsoever. Just his performance is amazing, and it reminded me of maniac, like he's a true psycho killer. Kind of like if you went to his house, I bet he probably has mannequins wearing the skin of his victims,
or at least their clothing.
At least their clothing. This movie is so good, and the thing is, like, also with that opening scene, that horror film scene that he does, it's so multi-layered because so many people accuse De Palma of being exploitative or being pervy or sleazy, and so here he is leaning into that by making an actual like sleazy horror film. And right off the bat, he's kind of sticking it to the people who called his work sleazy, and then then of course you've got him trying to ape the kind of the tropes of a bad horror movie, but he's such a great director, he can't direct badly.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, well, that part was actually directed and shot by the man who was kind of directed by De Palma, but it was also kind of directed by, I can't remember his name, but he invented the Steadicam, and they used that, and that's his hand, like with the knife and everything. So, but either way.
And then Travolta is just so, it's just such a great center for this. And it's not really a typically John Travolta performance. He's not playing a dumb guy. He's playing a sweet, good-natured guy, but not a dumb guy. A guy who's, clever enough to come up with the ideas that he comes up with, and you believe him the entire way that this is exactly what this guy would have thought of in this scenario. And I was really impressed. It didn't feel like I was watching John Travolta. He's not doing the typical John Travolta beats, he's not doing these actorly things that John Travolta has kind of grown into as he's gotten older. And I really love that. I think he kind of surrenders himself to De Palma and delivers the performance that De Palma wants.
Yeah. And so because it's not a typical John Travolta performance, Quentin Tarantino loved it. He saw it was his favorite Brian De Palma movie, one of his favorite movies, and it's what got him to cast John Travolta as Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction, which was also not a typical John Travolta role at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those. It's one of those things that kind of like it has a little bit of a layer behind the scenes that if he's not John Travolta, he does really well.
Except for Saturday Night Fever. Got to give him that one.
Yeah.
It's full Travolta, but it's also really good.
True.
But that's also the first one. So, I mean, it's very easy to do it that way. He hadn't worn out the persona.
Yeah.
I was constantly surprised by this movie. The first time I saw it, 20 some odd years ago, I was surprised by it because, by then Travolta is, Travolta. And then I watched it again twice this weekend because it was just so entertaining and so engaging. I watched it because I was writing the column about it. I wrote the opening shots column about it and detailing, all the stuff about the opening scene and why it's one of the best opening scenes in any movie ever. And I have to go back and watch this again. And so I did. I watched it twice because it's just that good. And I got to buy the Criterion DVD. I didn't even know it was I didn't even know it was on the Criterion collection. So now I've got to get that.
Yeah, I watched the Criterion Blu-ray. I started it the other night when we talked about doing this and then decided I had to sit down and watch it today before we started.
It's such an easy watch too, isn't it? Doesn't it just flow by? Like it just clicks by.
Yep. Well, for me, it's like this period, from like Carrie to this, with Dress to Kill in there is just great. And it has the score by Pino Donaggio, who did one of my all-time favorite movie soundtracks, which is Tourist Trap. He did Carrie, etc. He did all of them. So yeah, it's just everything about this one is just a really, really good one.
Yeah, the slick editing, the cinematography, the gorgeous cinematography. This is a great looking movie. That scene of John Travolta at the end holding Nancy Allen with that with the amazing fireworks show behind it. I mean, if you see that on the big screen, you've got your mind has to be blown. Like it's beautiful. It's tragic. And again, the use of sound is so incredibly important, and he's taking that very, very seriously. And again, like I said before, the prominence of the heartbeat and the breath in the opening scene, and then the absence of that at the end is just this perfect cinematic underline to everything that you've seen.
Yep.
It's not subtle. It's not subtle, but it's an impact. It makes a big, big impact. And you don't even realize that that's what it's building to until it gets there.
Yeah. This is like a completely unsubtle movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like all of Brian De Palma's best stuff is as unsubtle as you can make it.
Very true. Yeah. Dress to Kill definitely fits that. There's Snake Eyes for sure. The least subtle movie in the world. Nicolas Cage and Brian De Palma.
Mm-hmm. Even his Mission Impossible movie was
yeah.
So
that was really good. Really, really, he's a really great director. Surprise! Brian De Palma's a genius. There's a lot of people though that don't like De Palma. They think he's sleazy. They think he's misogynist, and I don't agree. Frankly, I don't agree with that. I think what he's doing is he's using that type of violence towards women and depicting it in a way that is using it for good. Like he's using it to expose the evil of it. I think that's what he's doing. I'm not saying he's a feminist or anything, but I'm saying that he doesn't do this just to depict dead women. It's not a turn on for him. He's not excited by death. He's not excited by people dying. I think there's a far more insidious type of director, like an Eli Roth, who I fully believed, and I still to this day believe when it came to the Hostel movies, he just enjoyed watching people be hurt. That's the way and that's just based on my perception of watching the movie, because he doesn't want to go away from, he doesn't want to depict it as a bad thing that's happening. He wants to be either, I don't know if he's trying to be objective or what, but he doesn't want to depict the evil that's happening as being evil. And that to me makes it seem like he kind of enjoys it. That's just how I feel. Rob Zombie has a similar thing where it seems like he kind of enjoys it too much when he's doing terrible things to people.
Oh, that Halloween remake, I was just like, I left that movie going, you know what? I think Rob Zombie actually does not like women.
Yeah. And I don't feel that way at all about De Palma.
No.
I think he likes women. I think he likes attractive women. I think he likes depicting them as attractive, but he doesn't want to see them harmed. He doesn't linger on their harm. He doesn't linger on their pain. He when he does use things like Angie Dickinson's death in Dress to Kill, it's important to the rest of the movie that you see just how brutal this is.
Yeah,
it's important that you understand the brutality. That's very important to that. Nancy Allen's death in this movie, you don't really see it. It's because he's building towards a tragedy. Her death is a tragedy to him. It's a tragedy to us. It's not a celebration. He doesn't enjoy this. Nobody's death is celebrated, and I think that's a major and important difference. I think he's applying incredible cinematic technique to, some of the biggest violence that you can see, but he's not doing so to depict that violence as good or to depict it as something you're supposed to salivate over. You're supposed to understand that it's brutal and awful.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, definitely watch this one. Get the Criterion release. It's really, really good.
This is one of the best movies ever made, as far as I'm concerned. It's right up there for me in terms of my favorite movies, like a top 5, top 10 kind of great all-time movie for me, which I just only realized this weekend, but still. Recency bias, whatever. I think this is I love this movie. I watched it twice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next week we've got The Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch taking on the role that Michael Douglas played in War of the Roses. You've got what's her name? I can't remember the actress's name. Fuck.
Oh, the lead?
Yeah,
Oh, Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman. Thank you. She's taking on the role. Was it who played it in the
Kathleen
original?
Turner.
Kathleen Turner. Kathleen
Yeah,
Turner. And I think Andy Samberg is playing the Danny DeVito role.
yeah.
So it's interesting. I remember the War of the Roses from being a kid. I remember it being off. Like one of the first times I recognized that the tone was wrong in a movie. Like because everything's supposed to be very funny, but I didn't find any of it very funny. I thought these people are mean.
Oh, it's super dark, but I guess the book it's based on is super, super dark. So
I'll be interested to see how they handle that in the new one, but also interested to look back at the original, which I haven't seen in a very, very long time. Jaws turns 50, so Jaws will be back in theaters. I'm going to go see that because I want to see Jaws on the big screen again because I love that movie. We've got Toxic Avenger, the remake with Peter Dinklage. I have no interest in watching the original Toxic Avenger.
yeah.
I don't enjoy trauma movies. I never have enjoyed a trauma movie, not one of them. I appreciate what trauma does. I understand the button pushing, envelope pushing shit that they do. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I've not enjoyed any of the Toxic Avenger things, but I'll see this because I like Peter Dinklage. But I'm not going to revisit Toxic Avenger. I'm not going to write about the original because what is there to write about that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a. I've seen it a couple times, mostly when I was a teenager, and it was enjoyable. I met Mark Torgel, who played the not Toxie, but his when he was Melvin. And just okay, cool, but it's not one of those movies where I hold it in just such high regard as a childhood favorite or anything. So
Yeah, I'm not interested. And the final new movie is Caught Stealing, Darren Aronofsky's new movie, which I'm spending all week at medium.com/realscope reviewing Darren Aronofsky movies. So I think I've got 6 of them going up this week that you can check out, of course, leading up to my review of Caught Stealing, which should be there on Friday morning.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, anything you want to add?
No, not really. I'm committed to a couple of those for sure. I don't know if I'll get to see Jaws on the big screen again. I've seen it on the big screen a few times because they've showed it for Fathom events. I saw a 35 millimeter print or 70 millimeter. I don't know, one of the two, when I lived in New York. So I don't know if I'll get to see that, but I'm glad you get to.
It'll be easy to talk about at the very least. So whether you go see it again or not, because I mean, who doesn't have a good memory of Jaws at this point?
I watch it on the 4th of July every year.
Yeah.
It's one of my 4th of July movies, that, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And you know what? I was just recommending I Know What You Did Last Summer, the remake or the sequel, to somebody the other day, and they were like, you're the third person who has said that was really good. I'm like, it really was. It was not what I thought it was going to be. So, yeah. Yeah, but those are my 2 July 4th movies.
All right, big weekend. Thank you, Jeff.
Have a good one.